Williams, pressure, throwing, corner, has a man, it is caught! Touchdown! Jazay Walker, unbelievable! 5 seconds left, so it sealed the decision. Try the onside kick, it's laying around, got to pick it up, and it's loose on the ground. Who's going to get it? Oh, the Bears have it! Are you serious? It's been an 8% chance all year, and somehow the Bears... Ball is loose, picked up, and the Bears get a stop. Fake Williams, looking downfield, launching downfield, going for it all. It is caught. Bears win it. DJ Moore.
Well, there you had it. Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady on the call. Mostly Kevin Burkhardt. Great calls by Burkhardt there. For the second time in 3 days, we have one of the wildest finishes and comebacks you will ever see. This one a little less unlikely, I think, than the one the other night with the Seahawks. But wow, what a great game. 22-16. The Bears take back control of the NFC North with just an unbelievable comeback and overtime win. Caleb Williams with a great throw to end it. A deep pass. They kind of all broke right, just like the other night. It all broke right for the Bears. They got the onside kick that they needed, which is an 8% chance, they said, of getting an onside kick. So listen, everything broke right. They get the stop on fourth down. These teams really had trouble on fourth down. The game started that way, and it basically ended that way with them not being able to convert a fourth down. The Packers, but at the end of regulation, the Bears got their biggest fourth down conversion of the night with the pass into the back corner of the end zone, which I thought when he threw it, he overthrew his receiver, and the guy made a great catch in the corner of the end zone. And this is kind of Caleb Williams' coming out party, right? The rookie, the number one pick. He was unbelievable. He was unbelievable late. I mean, the Bears did nothing for the whole first, I guess like 55 minutes of the game. They got inside the red zone early. They couldn't convert. They went for it on fourth down. They kind of held the Packers at bay, but and credit to the Packers with the backup quarterback coming in the game and just having really playing great. He came in and he was just out of nowhere. They lose Love. They're decimated by injuries. You got Micah Parsons out. And then Love goes down with the concussion, and Malik Willis comes in, and he's 9 for 11, 121 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He played well. He threw some good balls over the course of the game. It was a low scoring game, so there wasn't a ton of yards and a ton of points. The Packers moved the ball real well in between the 20s. They were up and down the field all night, but then the Bears defense was kind of bend but don't break. And they stopped them inside the 20 inside the red zone a couple times. The Packers were 0 for 5 in the red zone. 0 for 5. That's that you're not going to win many games doing that. The Bears though, they were basically the same. They were field goal, and they really only had 2 field goals up until the last minute. But let's break down the comeback that the Bears just had. I mean, they kicked the field goal on the fourth down. They decided to kick the field goal rather than go for it, which is the right choice. At the 2-minute warning, they kicked the field goal to make it 16-9. They made it a 1-possession game. Now, you got to get the onside kick, which with the new onside kick rules, where you can't just load up one side of the field and basically have all your guys run down there and kill the guy who gets the ball and just hope it pops out. They all run down there and they all have one guy that they got to hit and then knock out. And they do, and that's how it used to be. And it'd be a little bit better. It used to be like a 15 or 20% chance, I think, that you would get an onside kick. They stopped that a couple years ago. Now you have to line up everybody across the field. They do it for safety. I mean, it makes sense because these guys are killing each other, just running into the guys. So They have to line them up, and then you also can't do a surprise onside kick, which is not applies here because obviously they had to do it. But listen, the hands team for the Packers, the guy got out there, he caught it. It was bounced right to him, right in his chest. He kind of had it, fumbled it out of his hands. He got run over. The ball comes loose. The Bears get it, but now they still got to go down and score. They only have like a minute 50 to go, a decent amount of time, but they got good field position. And they march it down there, a couple big plays, a couple third down conversions, and then they have it on the 6 or 7 yard line, 4th and 4. And Caleb Williams gets flushed out of the pocket all the way, runs to run all the way to the right, and just throws a perfect pass into the back right corner of the end zone. And the extra point was good. Burkhardt and Brady were saying they were surprised that the Bears didn't go for 2. I wasn't at all. Right in that situation, I don't think because the Packers dominated. They dominated the game. The time of possession, they were, like I said, they were up and down the field inside the 20s, but they stalled. All their drives stalled inside the 20. And with the new rules where you both get the ball at least one time, you go kick the extra point, just go to overtime. There was 17 seconds left when they gave it back to the Packers. They weren't going to do anything. Willis got sacked on the first play, and they just took it into overtime. But I wouldn't go for 2 there. I don't know why they were surprised that they didn't go for 2 in the win. I mean, that's crazy. But what happened is they kicked the extra point, and the wind was all over the place. But it's an extra point. It's it's a 30-yard field goal, whatever it is. Made it, sends it to overtime, and right there the Packers get the ball first. They pick up a couple first downs, and then bam, and then a fumbled snap on 4th down, on 4th and 1. The ball's loose on the ground. Whoever dives on it doesn't matter because it's 4th down. They turn it over on downs. And I might have been the very first play that they had the ball, and he just goes deep, and he just throws a perfect pass. You could not have thrown the ball any better. Now, if you want to, just a quick note for you, everybody watching, if you want to scan in the QR code on the bottom right, you could call into the show. Call us in. Bears fans, Packers fans, let us know what you think. Packers had this game, and now what this does, but this lets the Lions back into the mix for the playoffs. This was a big game, a big win for the Lions to get back into the mix. Now they still going to need a little bit of help. Let me bring up the NFC playoff picture here. So the NFC playoff picture looks like this now. The Bears are back up into the 2 spot. The Bears have been going from the 2 to the 7 to the 2. Back and forth over the last, since they played the Packers a couple weeks ago. And now you got it. So the Bears are the 2 seed. The Seahawks, Eagles, and Rams have all clinched. Eagles clinched earlier today with their win over Washington. They win the NFC East, second straight time. Seahawks clinched with their win, their wild come-from-behind win Thursday night. And the Rams have been clinched for a couple weeks now. There's only 2 teams that can make the playoffs, out of the NFC that aren't in it now. You got the Bears number 2, the Bucks at number 4, and what it is that the Bucks and the Panthers they're gonna fight it out between themselves for the overtime for the playoff spot for the win, the division South, the NFC South division. They play each other twice. They play each other tomorrow in Carolina. And then the last day of the season, they play in Tampa, and that they're going to sort that out themselves. The Lions now are back in the mix as they now can win this division. Because remember, I told you the Bears going into today could have won the NFC North. They could have got the 1 seed overall seed, or they could have missed the playoffs. So there was a whole range of stuff going on with the Bears and everything like that. And listen, they played. So now the Lions, let me make it a little bit bigger here for you. Hold on 1 second. The Lions go now. They are 8-6. They could get to 10 wins, right? The Lions could get to 10 wins. They're now 3rd in the North in the division. Boy, the NFC West and the NFC North are 2 crazy divisions. You can have teams with good records missing the playoffs. And they now have a 29. No, if they win this week, they will have a 41% chance to make the playoffs. And you know what? Now the Packers can find themselves out of the playoffs very easily. Listen, the Packers just have to win, but they could very easily find themselves out of the playoffs. Imagine that. They're out of the playoffs after having the number 2 seed in week 16. That's crazy stuff. That's crazy stuff. And the same thing's going on in the West with the Niners and the Rams and the Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks, I think, are a bit of a fraud, right? They're the number 1 seed overall, but they did not play well in the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, they couldn't put the ball in the end zone against the Colts. They almost lost the game. They let Old Man Rivers go down the field and get a field goal with, a minute or so left. And they're lucky that they got bailed out by their kicker, who made 6 field goals just to win that game. And then they had no business winning Thursday night. Seahawks had no business winning that game. And we did a show on it right after. No business. So today, you get the Bears, who probably had no business winning this game. I think the Bears are better than the Seahawks, though. Just because I think the Bears, now this is going to be the experience they need, because this was a playoff-like atmosphere, a playoff game, defensive, not many points. You had to come up in big spots with big throws for Caleb Williams. 2 weeks ago, I don't think Caleb Williams was ready for primetime to play in that game in Lambeau Field. He just wasn't ready. He came out of a bad first half. Same thing today. Not a great first half, and not a great second half either. I mean, he didn't play great. Caleb Williams' numbers were 19 of 34, 250. Looks good. And again, the Bears both teams went between the 20s. No problem. Up and down the field. There was some fourth down conversions that were missed early in the game. There was a lot of opportunities missed early in the game by these teams. And the Packers losing Jordan Love is a killer too. He's probably going to be he might miss a game next week, but that's a must win for the Packers. Packers got to win these games now. Because of this loss, they put themselves kind of back on their heels, and now it's not an automatic thing that they make the playoffs anymore. So it's wild this year in the NFL. It really is. It's a whole changing of the guard with, the regular teams, the Chiefs and the Ravens might not get in and stuff like that in the AFC and even in the NFC. The Eagles just haven't looked right all year, but the Eagles are kind of hitting their stride a little bit. But hey, and you got Aaron Rodgers over there in Pittsburgh. Wild stuff going on. But today's game, listen, out of the last 2 days or 3 days, those are 2 of the wildest finishes you will ever see. Ever. I mean, the Bears won today. The onside kick they needed to get, which is just, 8%. Burkhardt was saying, which 8% is what? 8% is nothing. And they get it. They kick the field goal on 4th down. They cut it to 1 score. They score the touchdown on 4th down in a game where nobody really scored touchdowns. I mean, nobody really converted 4th down conversions too many times. There was missed opportunities there all over the place with the 4th down conversions. Hold on 1 second. Now, as far as Jordan Love goes, he was hit. It was a dirty hit. The guy, I'm surprised he didn't get ejected. He launched himself headfirst into the crown of Love's helmet, and you could tell right away there was a 15-yard penalty. I don't know what the crowd was going crazy for, booing about it, but he goes out into the tent. He comes out, no helmet. It's over, right? So now you got Malik Willis, who, and as fantastic a job as he did, he's not Love. He's not the starter. He looked good. He made some good throws. He didn't really make any mistakes that killed him. You could say the fumble on the snap on the last 4th down, but listen, that's not a big deal. He made some plays. He moved the ball. This is not on him, and that's all you gotta ask for when your backup quarterback comes in. And when Willis came in, that you heard Brady and Burkhardt talking about how, okay, they're gonna run the ball now. They're gonna run it a couple times. You get him in the feel of the game. That first drive, he made a couple real good throws on 3rd down, a couple 3rd down conversions, which he made, which were real nice, and off they went, and it looked like a sure Packers win. And it was a low scoring. It was a Packers Bears NFC North. It was like an old school game, but huge win for the Bears. And now the Bears, now they got something there. The Bears have 11. Do they have 11 wins now? I think they have 11. I think they're an 11-win team, maybe 10. Right? Yeah, the Bears have 10 wins, I believe now. But either way, the Bears move up into the 2 seed. You got 3 spots are clinched in the NFC: Seahawks, Eagles, Rams. Then you got the Bears, the Bucks, the Niners, the Packers. All, if the season ended today, would be in the playoffs. And on the bubble, on the outside looking in, is the Lions. Really, it's just the Lions. Because, like I said, the Panthers and the Bucks are going to take care of that themselves. That's only one team coming out of that division. It's going to be the division winner. And they play each other 2 of the next 3 weeks. So they'll take care of that themselves. The only thing is going to be a lot of jockeying inside the teams that are either in the hunt or have clinched the playoff spot. That's where the bulk of the action is going to come from in the NFC. But it's wild. It's wild stuff. Yeah, it might not be playoff spots on the line, but I mean, you got teams going from the 2 seed to the 8 to the 6 seed to the 7. It's crazy. It's crazy. And the Packers also, they're now the 7 seed. Listen, the Packers went from the 2 to the 7. They swapped spots with the Bears. And like I said, I think this might be Caleb Williams' coming out party. He was incredible today. At the end of the game, he was incredible. That throw that he made in overtime, where he just dropped it in the bucket, and the throw that scored the tying touchdown with 24 seconds left, he made it harder than I think it had to be. He put it a little over. He overthrew it a little bit because he threw it into the corner, and his guy had to make a fantastic catch just to keep his feet in bounds and everything. And then the extra point and the onside kick, and away they go. And unbelievable that these 2 games basically back to back. You had the Eagles Commanders game kind of sandwiched in the middle, which wasn't very good, but you saw that coming. Cowboys eliminated today with their slight hopes or whatever they had. They needed 3 wins, and they needed the Eagles to lose all 3 games, and it wasn't going to happen. But the Eagles look like they don't look like a team raring up to go win a Super Bowl. And people are going to point to today's game against Commanders. And they go, oh, Commanders didn't play well. And they weren't even trying to win. Commanders punting the ball down 2 scores with 5 minutes left at midfield when you're going nowhere. Come on. And then they even made a point of it on the telecast. Joe Davis, I think, that was doing the game. And he even made a point of it, saying, what are they doing punting? How could you possibly, you're trying to win or not? 5 minutes left. You have nothing to lose. You're trying to be spoiler for the Eagles, and you're punting the ball from midfield with 5 minutes left, down 2 scores. Didn't you see the Seattle game the other night? It's not over. It's not over. Tomorrow, big games. A lot of big games tomorrow. You got the Patriots and the Ravens. That's the night game. The NBC, Football in America. Waiting all day for Sunday night. Patriots with a win. Listen, with a win, they will control their own destiny in the AFC East. If the Patriots happen to lose tomorrow, and the Bills win their game, then the AFC East is back up in the air, and it's going to be the Patriots and the Bills playing for a second time in Orchard Park, and the Patriots could blow the division in the last 2 weeks. So let me bring up the AFC playoff picture now. Here's the AFC playoff picture. It's a little, I'm not going to say it's a little more clear. You got the Colts there, but the Colts have, they're only like a 20-something percent chance. They've been dropping craziness for over a month now. They haven't won a game in a month. They got Phillip Rivers, who's going to be playing, which is, listen, I love it. I'll be watching again tomorrow. I watched it the other day. Phillip Rivers, he looked okay, right? He looked okay. First couple drives, he was throwing some wounded ducks. He didn't have the zip on the ball. It wasn't like going on a line. They had a little arc to it, so the passes were a little late. But he got things going, and he's smart enough to play the position where he's not going to make a huge mistake. He probably knows his limitations. He played well. He got him down the field at the end of the game in position to hit a field goal. And they did with, a minute or so left. They just left a little bit too much time. And Seattle went back down the field. The kid hit like a 58-yarder, his 6th field goal of the day, and they won. So, but bad luck all around for the Colts. Basically, they were the number 1, number 2 seed. Daniel Jones was the MVP. People were saying Daniel Jones and MVP in the same sentence. And then, of course, he goes down with the Achilles, and that's it for that. I felt a little bad for Daniel Jones because he finally, finally doing something with his career. You know, he had to leave the Giants, but doing something with his career either way. And now he's on the shelf for at least a year. So we'll see. But other big games tomorrow, of course, in Carolina, you got the Bucks in Carolina to play the Panthers. Both teams 7-7. Both teams recently lost to the terrible New Orleans Saints. And that's just that. Listen, terrible losses. Whichever team doesn't make the playoffs is going to be kicking themselves. Now, Tampa's been bad for about a month. They've lost 5 of 6. They're 1-5 from the bye since the bye that they had about a month and a half ago. Baker Mayfield is not playing well. They just lost 2 games on the road, divisional games to the 2 worst teams in their division, to the Falcons and to the Saints the week before. And then you figure, okay, the Carolina now saw that happen 2 weeks ago and was like, all right, here we go. We got it. We'll go in. We'll take care of business in New Orleans. We're not going to stumble like the Bucks did. And they go in there and they get beat by the Saints. So credit to the Saints, who, unlike the Commanders today, are actually trying to win these games and play spoiler. And they're playing well, right? They beat both of these teams. So they both come in today 7-7, or for tomorrow, I guess later today, 7-7. And they play each other 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. So that's when I say that they're going to take care of it themselves, they're going to take care of it themselves, because those 2 games, if one of the teams sweeps, obviously they win the division. If they split, if they end up as a tie, the Bucks will get the tiebreaker and they will win the division. So, bigger game tomorrow for Carolina to win and keep the pressure on the Bucks. And like I said, the Bucks coming in 1-5 in their last 6 games have not played well at all. That loss to Atlanta on Thursday night, 2 Thursday nights ago, was not a good. They did not look like a playoff team. And really, are either one of them a playoff team? It's kind of somebody has to win the division by default. Somebody does, right? Someone's going to win it with 8 wins or with 9 wins at the most. It's good, and it's always the NFC South, I feel like, when it's one of these things. Because what's going to happen is one of them is going to win the division with 8 wins or 9 wins, and they're going to have a 13 or 12 win team have to go on the road into either the Bucks or Carolina's building with 12 wins or 13 wins and play a 9-7 or 9-8 team, and they're probably going to lose because it always happens that way. And it's always the NFC South. It's either Atlanta or Tampa. It always seems that way. And I remember a couple years ago they had that team that had 7 wins, or it was like an 8-8 or a 7-9 team. And I think it was like the Falcons, and they went in there and they got the home game in the playoffs because they won the division, and they had like a 10 or 11 win team come in, and they beat them. So you got to be careful with those. That's why home field advantage is so important in the playoffs. So important. You don't have to go on the road. If you're the 49ers and you win 12 games or 13 games, you want to go on the road across the country to the East Coast and play a game in Tampa or in Carolina. No, you don't. You feel like you should have earned a home playoff game, but you didn't win your division because you just so happened to have a bunch of really good teams in your division, and 12 wins wasn't enough. And that's what's going to happen in the West, and that's what could happen in the North, in the NFC. But like I said, I think the Rams are clearly the best team, because if you watch that game the other night, that was Sam Bradford, I did it again. Matthew Stafford was crazy. 457 yards. They had 600 yards of offense. That's why it was so crazy that Seattle came back and won that game. Sam Darnold was okay, but he was okay. You got the opposing quarterback putting up 457 yards, 600 yards of offense against your defense. Almost a number 1 defense, a top defense. And they just shredded them all night. And then of course everything just kind of went haywire with the 2-point conversion, and then the Rams lost the game themselves too with the time management. Like, what are you doing? You have the ball twice, and you take 2.5 minutes off the clock because you throw 5 passes and 4 of them are incomplete. What are you doing? And then they fired their special teams coach today. For what? For the punt return? Like that happens. You could give up a punt return. I don't watch, the Rams every week, so I don't know if they're giving up punt returns left and right, if they are okay. But they need what they needed there. They needed a fall guy. And the special teams coach is not as valuable or as high profile as the offensive coordinator is, or whoever's calling the damn plays. Because that's who I would have fired. Whoever's calling these plays, oh, yeah, let's throw the ball 4 to 5 times. Especially after the first 2 went incomplete. Then you get the ball back a couple minutes later after they returned the punt and they're a possession away. It's a 1-possession game. And you're still doing that? Oh, forget it. You'd have it. I'd fire that guy. That's who I'd fire. So let's see what we got. But yeah, different look in the playoffs this year. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, Seattle I think is gonna drop. I think the Rams are clear number 1 seed. Stafford is clearly the MVP. Pittsburgh, see if they can get in. Again, listen, Pittsburgh and the Ravens. The Ravens right now on the outside looking in at the 9 seed. But Pittsburgh's got a tough game tomorrow night. But don't forget, everybody was picking the Ravens going into the season as their Super Bowl pick or in the Super Bowl. And they got off to just that god-awful start. I think they were 1-5. They had 1 foot in the grave with this season, and they fought back when they got Lamar back, and he's played well. But listen, that's a tough one. In New England, Sunday night, national television. That's not gonna be easy. If the Ravens can win that tomorrow, they might. And they got robbed too with the game against the Steelers. They might win the division if they could get through this one against in Pittsburgh, in New England. And I'll tell you what, the Bills are going to be rooting hard for them, because the Bills too are another. It's a weird situation with the Bills, because in the AFC, I think the Bills are probably the best team. Now they're playing with fire week after week, right? They got the Josh Allen's got to pull them out of the fire and bail them out every week. Last week they were down 20 points or whatever in New England. A couple weeks ago they were down in the snow to the Bengals. They had to come back every week, and he's got to do it himself. So their defense has really got to pick it up, because you're not going to be able to do that every week. You can't, as great as Josh Allen is, and he's the only guy probably in the league that could do it, he's not going to be able to pull you out of the fire every single week, and especially in the playoffs when you're playing better defenses and tougher defenses, and it's a one and done, and you're on the road. That's why I think it's so big for the Bills to win the division. And that win the last week was huge to give them a chance. Now they're still down. They still have a game. They're a game back, but they do play the Patriots again. They get them at home. And if they can win that's going to be huge for them. If they can win the division, at least get a 1 home game, right? Because then you get the 1 home game, and you're like, okay, things that we can now we'll go on the road. We only got to win. Then it's a divisional round, and you feel better about yourselves. But if they're on the road and they got to go, to like, where would they go? They'd probably go to They could go to New England. They could go to the Chargers. That's not games you want to play if you're the Bills. Because the Bills, the Bills, this was going to be their year, especially when the Chiefs kind of saw that they weren't going to do anything this year, and then Lamar got hurt with the Ravens, and they were 1-5. The Bills, okay, this is it, because the gauntlet that was the AFC playoffs, with the Bills being one of them, but with the Ravens and the Bengals and the Chiefs, every year after year after year, they just beat each other up, and they couldn't get over the hump, which was the Chiefs. And this year, that flattened out for them, and they weren't going to have to go over the hump. And what happened? They played well, but like I said, the defense is not great. Josh Allen's got to pull them out of the fire every week. One of these weeks, it's not going to happen. They're falling behind by like 3 touchdowns in the first half of these games. You can't do that. You can't do that in the playoffs. You can't do that week to week. Expect him to come out and just be Superman and lead you back every single week, especially in the playoffs. It's not going to happen. So I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about the playoff situations. And like I said, big winners tonight besides, obviously, the Bears, who have now arrived, and Caleb Williams has arrived. You know, this was his coming out party. This was the game that you're going to point to and be like, that's a career-changing game right there. And he was a different player going forward. So besides them, the Lions are a big winner today because now they're back in the mix. Back in the mix. Because the Bears were already in first. You know, they were already in first place. The Packers now have decimated with injuries. Is Jordan Love going to be able to play next week? You're going to have to go with Willis. You got no Micah Parsons, who was just a huge loss on the defensive end. And you could see the way the Bears run the ball today. The Packers really miss Micah Parsons. And no sacks either. I mean, there were a couple of plays where Caleb Williams did a seven-step drop, and he stood back there, and he got to go through his progression without even anybody in his face. And that's Micah Parsons. That's what they're missing. So, listen, that does it for us. That does it for me, at least, here today. I'm going to go to bed. I got to get up. We'll be back live at 11 o'clock with the pregame show. Brett, Mark Mancini will be here. We got all kinds of things. We'll run through all the games, get everything set up for you for the kickoff. Big win, wild couple days here in the NFL, and I'm sure it'll be just as good tomorrow. So that does it for me. Have a good night, everybody. I'm Bob Walters from the Brian Gunzel Studios. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, guys. Subscribe so you never miss a show. From the Brian Gunzel Studios, see ya.